hate her so much. Sometimes I'm down for redemption. Sometimes I'm not. Most of the time, I'm not. I feel like a lot of the time, actually, when we talk about books, I really am not down for the redemption story. Maybe that's something I need to look into about myself.
Hey everybody, this is Kat.
And Rachel.
And you're listening to Smut Peddlers podcast, a show for people who love books, especially when there's smut. We discuss our likes, our dislikes, and share our favorite moments with you.
Today we're talking about Birding with Benefits by Sarah T Dubb. So grab your favorite beverage and get ready to burn with us. So in our book today, our FMC, female main character, for those who are new to the world of books, is named Celeste. And she is a newly divorced mom of a fabulously queer daughter. She is embarking on her year of yes and finds herself entering a birdwatching contest by accident after going to meet our male main character, John, for what she thinks is a fake date to impress his ex-girlfriend, Brina, who I hate. John is our quiet, shy boy who just wants to watch some birds and get his business off the ground, but he is too enamored with our FMC, Celeste, to turn down this opportunity to spend more time with her. So I adored this book. I thought it was absolutely adorable, and it felt so warm and fuzzy, and I think that it was also like way more mature than I was, I guess, expecting. Because so many of the books that I've read recently that are rom-com, especially like this funny rom-com, have been like 20s or like maybe early 30s. But she is like in her 40s, I think they mention.
Yeah.
And has a kid. And she's like a full-grown adult, has been married, she's divorced now. And I just loved the whole relationship that they have is more adult, I think, than I've read in a romance in a while, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. I think most books that we have read in general, we read a lot of Christina Lauren, a lot of Allie Hazelwood books. Like, a lot of the main characters are younger, and I'm 31. So, like, I read a book and someone is in college and I'm like, I can't relate to this in any manner. Like, in my heart of hearts, I'm probably 65. So reading a book about Celeste at 40, falling in love with a hobby that like I love in general, it just, I don't know, it felt very nice to have that kind of vibe around it.
That's true. And you do enjoy birding. Biology is a very big part of your life. So I was very excited when we found this book because the main reason that we picked it up is because you were like, birds and romance. Can we read this please immediately? And you immediately contacted me and were like, put this on your Libby, get it on whatever you need to, because we are going to read this. And it finally came available and we were both really excited. I devoured it in maybe a day and a half. It did not take me very long to read this book because it was just
so good,
so cute. So many good quotes. I want to get back to Brina, actually. I dislike this girl so much. She pisses me off. Every little thing that she says is annoying. One of my favorite lines is when she mentions something where she says some like snide comment and he's like corrects her or makes some like comment that's like, you're being rude or you're being mean. And she's like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Like, that's not how I meant it to come out. And he goes, yes, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? No. She actually felt the most immature in the whole book because she felt almost like a more like high school or college maybe level of insecurity person than maybe I was prepared for. I still think it fit the book, but like she's just, I dislike her significantly. Every one of my comments in the book is like, fuck you, Brina. I hate you.
Oh, absolutely. Like she was everything that she did was very calculated in the way that she said things, and it was to demean other people to make her look better. And that, like by the end of the book you realize that that is something that she has dealt with, just like trying to go through her field in life of like constantly being up against just your cis white man. And so
Great.
I can see why she became that way. I just don't think she did it in a healthy manner. Like towards the end she goes to therapy and like pretty much says like, "Hey, I fucked up." Like that is just
Yeah.
how it
That's
is.
been a theme that I've weirdly has been popping up in a lot of the books recently that I've been reading is uh, the theme of the who's considered like the villain
Mhm.
goes to therapy and then comes back and is like, "Hey, I went and got help. Sorry I treated you like shit. I apologize." Um, and then some of them are like, "We can get back together now." And I'm like, "Oh, you still don't get it, dude. Like I'm so happy that you're getting help, but like you are maybe a fourth of the way there. Like you got
Yeah.
a lot of work to do if you're still like, we good? I'm going to seeing a therapist now. Everything's fine. We can get back
I'm
together." Like,
I'm
no.
glad that Brina, like in Brina's case though, it wasn't like that. So she
Yes.
came back and she just was like, I just want to apologize because like
Mhm.
even throughout our whole relationship, I treated you terribly, and like another main character in it is Chris, and Chris is John's best friend. And so for the longest time, it was Chris, John, and Brina going through college, going through grad school. Like the three of them were friends. And so then when this whole situation kind of occurred where they broke up, he, Chris, as John's best friend, realized that she was treating him poorly. And so even to that, she came and apologized to Chris as well, because like she apologized to them together, which I thought was
Yeah.
a nice way to say like, hey, I messed up, like maybe we can be friends again, and not necessarily like I'm trying to get back together with you. It was just
The
like,
way that
can
she
we just
resolved her
be
relationship
friends?
was with Chris was really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that was good. I think that when she came back and was just like, I would like to be friends with you again, because there's a lot of a theme throughout the book of Chris knowing that what she did was wrong and 100% being like, John, I got your back. You and I, like, on your side if there's got to be sides. But
Hmm.
he misses one of his friends, which I think is totally fair and justified. I can't imagine. I mean, I've had friends that they've broken up and I don't even really want to talk to that person anymore, but I miss, like, being able to in a way that doesn't feel unsupportive of the person that I really am actually friends with.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought that that was nice that she made an effort, not just with John, but with Chris.
I
And
think
Chris
we
is
should
another
also
topic we can
say
talk about too.
that,
Chris is
so
great.
like I also really love this book. Rachel said that she loved it kind of at the tail end of kind of our brief synopsis of like what the book is about. I gave this a 4 star on my Goodreads. I also think on the spice level of things, for me this was a 3 pepper spice. And if you would
I
like
think
to
I would.
know what our ratings are, we'll have that on our Instagram. We will show you what 1 pepper is, 2 pepper, 3, 4, and 5. Our spice level may not be the same as everyone's. A
Yeah.
lot of it has to do with whether it's open door or not. I would say these scenes were definitely open door, um, but they weren't
It
like,
definitely doesn't rate as a 4 for me because usually for me there has to be some sort of kink involved for there to be any any talk of a 4.
yes.
Um, just because 1 through 5 isn't a lot to work with in terms of, how descriptive are we getting.
Hmm.
I completely agree with 3. I also agree with 4. I would almost give it a 4.5. The writing was just really good, and I really enjoyed. Um, it felt different,
Hmm.
and
So,
I struggle with saying that it felt different because a lot of the times it's like, oh well, this person did it first. You just read that one first. So if I read like another birding book, with romance in it after this, I'm sure that there would be a little bit less, oh, this feels like a new story and I'm learning so many things. You learn a lot about birding in this book too, which I like did not know. They give you like the proper terms for all of the different parts of a bird and like how birding actually works, and the fact that, they talk about migratory patterns, and they even talk about invasive species of plants and stuff too, and like how that kind of affects their birding, which I appreciated. And I also was reading it the whole time and being like, oh, Kat's really gonna like this, because like they're being accurate and they're talking about invasive species.
For those that don't know, my degree is in wildlife biology and ecology, and so I have the background of birds and the environment, and that is what I do for a living outside of all the things on the internet. But yeah, so I really liked it as a nerd when it comes to natural resources and birds and wildlife. I really liked that they used proper terms for birds, and they talked about a bird being outside of its normal migratory pattern and how they count birds, because that's how they do it in real life. Like, if you are going to go birding and do birding counts of any kind, which I've been a part of many, they will fact check you. If you find a bird that is like vastly away from where it is meant to be, someone's gonna be like, excuse me? Like, that shouldn't be there. So I thought it was cool that they added that like tidbit to it, and they really like got into like the fact that they're out in nature and birding. I even thought it was hilarious when he talked about his snails. Like, I thought it was cool that they were all in a like PhD version of something within.
She just stopped talking because she can see me sneezing.
Yep.
I was very distracting. I got my mic muted, but I couldn't stop from making you laugh. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I thought it was cool that Chris talked about his snails. I thought that was just a nice little touch to add into like the world of natural resources. They also, at the end of the contest, they do this like event, specifically in the book. They do this event and it's at like a nature conservancy or something like that. And one of the scenes I loved so much is that, so it's your 75% through the book, third act breakup situation. They've come to the end of this birding contest and they are going to part ways from their adventures together. And so Celeste walks off. She gets overwhelmed. They don't win the contest. She gets overwhelmed. She walks off and she finds this like neat little spot. And when she goes in, it's just this little like butterfly aviary type thing where she like pretty much goes in and just sits with all of these butterflies on all these plants. And the whole scene is her sitting there, and it's like really painted of like butterflies are landing on things. And it was just, the way it was written was so nice that like you could put yourself in that location. And I don't know, I just loved that little scene. I thought it was just such a little sweet scene. John ends up coming in because he goes looking for her and knows that she's not like necessarily doing well because they lost, because she wanted to win for him. And so I thought it was great that this little scene played out in this like really picturesque place within this like nature conservancy building.
Yeah, I agree. I think she does a really good job of describing the surrounding in a way that's not overdone. Like, there are authors that I have read that write fantasy, and the amount of time that they spend describing things is just too much for me. The way that she paints a picture is just really well executed. I love the scene where she's being drawn by her daughter and she's just standing there still because she's watching a bird.
Mm-hmm.
And you get like a little bit of a description about how it was from the daughter's perspective, talking to John about the fact that she was standing there and she actually stood still for once and was just watching a bird and enjoying it. And then you get a little bit of Celeste's perspective later, which I thought was cute, of that it had been a while since her daughter had drawn her and she just wanted to stand there and like enjoy the moment. Like, the bird had gone and the bird wasn't there anymore and she had just stood there and the way that she described that scene from both perspectives I thought was just really, really well written.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, her writing's so good. And this is her first book.
Yeah. Her first book,
How?
it came out June
Just
2024.
knocks it out of the park.
And it was fantastic. Like, first book, just outstanding.
Yeah, that's so impressive.
There's one little thing that is like a big part of the book. Obviously, Celeste is recently divorced. That's kind of part of her, I would say, identity at the very beginning is like, like, her whole thing is that I'm recently divorced. I'm trying to find myself. Mm-hmm. And part of that is this, like, take on discovery. And in the end, it feels like they kind of wrapped him discovering himself as well. Like, she brought out him taking steps to, like, really do stuff for himself, while also she realized that, like, maybe me discovering myself isn't just being alone forever and being by myself, but, like, discovering myself with another person when she left a relationship that wasn't necessarily the best for her.
Yeah. She felt that she belittled herself and made herself small in her relationship to fit in the box that he wanted for her ex wanted her to be in. And I think that her fear is it's got to be such like a relatable thing to come out of a relationship and be like, oh, right, I can go do all of these things that I used to love doing but didn't do because it wasn't something that my partner was interested in or that they didn't encourage for me, and now I can. And she just goes through that realization of, I changed so much of myself for this relationship, and she doesn't trust herself not to do it again. And I love that. I am going to call it a trope. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to call it a trope or not, but I love that trope because I think that when it's done well, I like when they talk about not that they don't trust the other person to treat them right. Mm-hmm. They don't trust themselves to know the signs that they're doing
treated well. Yeah.
They don't. And I think that that's such a lovely distinction that she, I think, that she did well, and that I'm seeing like other authors kind of buy into that a little bit more than just like the miscommunication trope of, oh, we didn't talk about it, so it's, they obviously don't trust me. It's like, I think that much more frequently it's that they don't trust themselves to not know whether this is happening to them or whether they are changing themselves or just saying, no, actually, I just don't like doing that thing anymore, or it's just not that important to me. So I agree. Should we talk about quotes?
We can. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. So I read this on my Kindle.
I also read this.
And so,
and I had the audiobook, which is very good for anyone who likes audiobooks. I usually will read the Kindle. I like to read the physical book, or the Kindle version have some sort of copy where I can read it while I'm listening to an audiobook. But audiobooks are absolutely my jam, so we'll always have, most of the time at least, if an audiobook exists, I will have an opinion on the audiobook.
Fair. My favorite quote is just from a scene that they were just being goofy with each other, which is like something I love because like it's like kind of how I am. Sometimes I say things that like maybe are kind of silly, but like I meant it in a different way or whatever, or it just came out of my mouth before I was thinking. So this one is Celeste is talking to John in this scenario, and she says, "Please just ignore me. My internal filter doesn't always exist. I don't mean to objectify you." Leading up to this scene, she pretty much called him like hot and that she wanted to like jump him. Yep. But like after like doing an activity, like they were going birding or something like that, and he pretty much answers it with like, "You can objectify me whenever you would like." And it was just the cutest little scene, and I was just like, this is so silly. And like I feel like I don't know if anyone just would sit on this scene and like love it as much as I do. I thought it was just the cutest little thing.
It's very like you have like the hee giggles when I read stuff like that, and that one was definitely one where I sat there and was like, "Ooh, this is cute. I love it." Um, I thought that one was great. I think that the like self-awareness of also being like, "Oh, so sorry about that. Didn't catch that until it came out of my mouth."
Mm-hmm.
So filters don't exist. And he's just like, "We're good." She does that again, and he has another really good quote, where she basically says something to the effect of like, "Oh, like sometimes I'm too much," or and he says like, "I would never tell you that you're too much."
Mm-hmm.
She's like, and I was just that was another one. I was like, "Oh yes, I love it. It's being cute."
They're so cute.
My favorite one comes after when they have, I think it's their first kiss, when they win the trivia
Okay.
thing. And basically what happens is they win the trivia thing, and it was like real nail biter down at the end. They beat Brina because they're also like the finalists, which is fantastic. And she kisses him like out of the blue, just as like a celebratory thing, and it gets steamy. It's a good kiss. It's a very good one, and they don't just do like a cute little PDA one. They get very absorbed in themselves. And they come off the stage and they go to meet up with Chris and someone else who was on their trivia team. And Celeste basically goes to take a sip of her drink, and she goes, "I have to go to the bathroom," and just gets up and leaves.
Just
And
runs away.
Leaves John with Jared and Chris. And my favorite quote is, "John waited a beat for her to be out of hearing distance, then dared a look at Jared and Chris. I don't suppose we can skip this conversation."
Yeah, that was really good.
And Jared's immediate response, shaking his head, "Definitely not. The kiss was nothing. That kiss was not nothing." Just such an, I think it's another great conversation where it's just like more of the hee giggles of, "Can we just not have this conversation right now?" And they're like, "Absolutely not. We're going to talk about it right this second. How
Yep.
would you like to talk about it?" Just his friends being little shits to him. It's so great. It's,
So good.
I thought that was fantastic. Though, yeah, that one I think was definitely my favorite. And I just freaking flipped to the next page, and then it's one of my clips that I hate from Brina.
Oh God.
Ugh!
Oh yeah.
Calling her silly. She just seems really silly for someone like you, John. Just a little too much, you know? My comment. Fuck you, Brina.
Yeah, so I have his response to that highlighted because I loved it so much. So he like claps back at Brina, and this whole book, John is very timid. He keeps a lot of opinions to himself. Like he's not very outspoken. Like he is
Yep.
very much an introvert that likes to do extroverted things of like going out and like being in nature, but like kind of by himself.
But he still likes to do it in a,
But,
yeah,
like,
he still likes to do it in an introverted way.
So like for him to even just say anything back to Brina, I was very surprised and was very excited about. So he responds to that of, "For the record, B," which is what him and Chris refer to Brina as. That was how they nicknamed her. "Celeste is silly," he said simply. "She's brilliant too, and compassionate, and an amazing learner, and she sees magic in little things all around her, all the time. However you've decided to label and categorize her in your head, I promise you she's much more than that." Like that by itself, I was just like, oh, my heart.
Yep. And then this is the
So
one where I mentioned before, I was like, she goes and she says she stumbled back a step, and she says, "John, look, I didn't mean," and he says, "You did, Brina. You don't do anything by accident. Whatever meaning you're placing on this contest, however badly you want to beat me, leave her out of it."
Yes.
And I'm like, yes. I love that, because it's so much of that stupid high school nonsense where people are like, "I was just joking." It's like, no, you weren't. We all know you were. But I think it's so great that he also like calls her out very specifically, and it's like, you don't do anything by accident.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just accidentally make a comment like, "Oh, I didn't mean it." It's like, no, you did mean it.
You 1,000% meant it.
Just because I talked back doesn't mean that now you get to get out of jail. Ugh, I hate her so much. Sometimes I'm down for redemption, sometimes I'm not. Most of the time, I'm not. I feel like a lot of the time, actually, when we talk about books, I really am not down for the redemption story. Maybe that's something I need to look into about myself.
Oh, here's another one. So this scene is they're going birding where they're gonna camp overnight. And at the trailhead, so a big part of this book is John, like the idea is that John's gonna win this contest and he's gonna be able to start his like birding guide business. And that's like part of his kind of backstory. He's been kind of dragging his feet doing it. He hasn't been super confident in it. He deliberates on a lot of things like way longer than maybe he needs to because he's scared or nervous or whatever, because he's not a very like put yourself out there kind of guy. And he kind of leans into the things that are a little bit easier. So in this scene, they get to the trailhead and it is another competitor, like in John's opinion, another competitor like bird guide, and he's just going out there for fun to like shoot photos, like do whatever. And so Celeste, who is very outgoing and is talking to their friend or John's like acquaintance, pretty much is like just talking about John and how much potential he has and like all of this stuff. And so John gets very like in his head, like, she thinks I'm not doing enough for myself, like blah, 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 gets like upset. And so he trails off. He just storms off and goes up the trail. Celeste, of course, is like, what the hell just happened?
He handles it super well.
Yeah, he acts like a kid, storms off. Celeste is like, what just happened? So she's like, okay, let me go catch up with him. Runs up the trail, pretty much shows up to him like panting, and he's like, what are you doing? And so in this scene by itself, something that she said, like, I laughed out loud. And I then paused, looked at my partner, and said, this is what she just said to this man, and it is fantastic. And now I want to just use it in my life. So, paint the scene. Celeste is running up the trail. She yells, hold up. Celeste pushed his binoculars back down, inserting herself between him and the spot he'd been studying on the ground. So he's on like trail, just looking at stuff. What's going on? Why'd you storm off and leave me there? He tried to step around her. I didn't leave you. Celeste wouldn't budge. I was down the trail and I didn't storm. Celeste's response. I work with teenagers, she huffed. I know storming when I see it. Which I, like, the clapback of like, oh, you want to tell me?
I'm sorry. Of all the people in this current situation, who has the most experience with people storming around? I feel like good. I should know. That was fantastic. She, he throws a temper tantrum and then she goes, hey, you're throwing a temper tantrum. And he goes, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not doing it.
Okay. Definitely not storming.
I just kept hiking on the trail.
He gets called out by, like, everyone.
Yeah.
He has good people around him, I guess is what I'm saying.
There's another scene that I really like, and it brings it back to the beginning, and it was something so minor that she had mentioned, that when she's in a bad mood or something happens, she's upset, she doesn't feel great, like, the only thing that, like, cures it is a thing of French fries.
Oh, and her thing with French fries is so great.
So they mention it at the very beginning, and she's like pretty much like just downloading John on like her life and things about her so that he knows a little bit about her during their fake dating experience. And part of it was she was like, anything can be cured by a thing of fries. Like, if you just are in a bad mood, cranky, hungry, something, have a little thing of fries and you'll feel better, like, in the moment. It'll just give you a little something. It's like her like homemade something that just like feels good in her core. So this one scene is she is at her daughter's like art exhibit that is put on by the high school. Her daughter is a senior. She's going into her college year. And she's been keeping a secret from her mom that she plans to move across the country to LA with her girlfriend and pretty much follow her girlfriend to school and pursue art instead of going to college. And so that is the first scene that she hears it, is at this art exhibit. So if she, as a mother who is ambushed pretty much with this information,
Yep.
freaks out and is like, no, you're not. What are you talking about?
Another
What is this
situation
about?
where we handle this super well.
So she, of course, is like, what are you talking about? We're going outside. They walk outside. They have a screaming match at each other where she's like, you're not doing this. You're not just following your partner because you want to follow your partner. Like, that's not how this works. Like, you need to be your own person. Which, like, as a 30-year-old, I kind of agree. You don't just, like, up and leave and, like, follow someone just to follow them. But if you have, like, there are things that you want to do in your life, and she really wants to pursue art. Like, where she's going is a great place to do that. Like, there are many things that she thought it through. It just wasn't ever shared to Celeste. So, of course, she had this, like, outburst. They get into a fight. Her daughter leaves and goes to stay at M's house, which is her girlfriend. And John is going to take Celeste home. And in this scene, they're driving, and she notices that, like, that you're not going to her house. And she, of course, asks him, like, what are we doing? Like, where are you going? He pulls in. We're getting fries. He ordered, and soon she had a steaming bag of crunchy, greasy fries in her lap. I love fries, she choked out. Just above a whisper, he gave her another weak smile before pulling out into the street, heading toward her house. I know. She lifted a fry to her mouth. The salt hit her tongue first, then the heat of the steaming center, then the sweet comfort of grease. She closed her lips around it, and finally, she started crying. This whole scene leading up to this, she just was nothing. And then he just handed her her little, like, this is your thing.
Doesn't ask her, doesn't say, hey, we're going to go do this to make you feel better. He just drives and is like, all right, great, we're going to go get french fries. And she's going to get french fries dumped in her lap and everything will be okay.
She's going to eat french fries. We're going to go back. They ended up going back and, like, cuddling and, like, sleeping, whatever, watching a movie. And then Spicy happens eventually.
Yeah, well, it
So
always
good.
does.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we read books where it always does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think I love that he gets her french fries. It's precious and adorable. So she has her french fry fixation. Other than his woodworking, did you catch what his fixation is?
Other than his
They
woodworking?
mention it multiple times. It's not anything having to do with food, but it made me laugh every time I saw it.
I didn't catch it.
It's her ponytail.
Oh, he talks about her
His
ponytail
obsession
so
with her ponytail
often.
is so
Yes.
funny. And I genuinely can't remember if we even got a ponytail scene in The Spice. I think we didn't.
In the
and
closet. The original.
Is it in the closet?
Mm-hmm.
At the party, right? Where they're...
Her hair's not
the
in
costume?
a ponytail, but it's mentioned that he puts it into his hand like it's a ponytail.
Okay.
And then as she leaves, she
my
sticks her
only
hair in a
complaint-
ponytail and gives him the little branches that were in her hair.
My only complaint in the whole book is that I wanted more from the ponytail.
I wanted him to tell her
We're
about
gonna
the ponytail
we're gonna mention
thing.
we're gonna mention the ponytail like 4 or 5 times, man. I have it highlighted like every time it comes up, and I was like, we're gonna get to it, and then like if that's really all that I got from the ponytail, I was like, ma'am, please, I wanted more from the ponytail, please. I was so ready. I was invested in the ponytail, and then I felt like I didn't get enough of the ponytail, which could have just been so that she could keep it to a 3 on the Spice and not go to a 4 for the kinks.
Maybe.
But whatever.
Maybe she wanted to dip her toe into the Spice without really...
I think this is a great dip your toe into Spice.
Absolutely.
We have a friend who does not like Spice, and I would recommend this. Mm-hmm. She skips over all Spice. She just doesn't read the chapters and just skips through it. I don't understand, and some people, I
don't get
totally support you if you need to skip through the Spice, but I don't get you. I don't get
her skipping it just because I know her on a very personal level that, like,
she doesn't strike me. Yeah, I know. We love you. You know who you are. But we don't get you. One of the other ones I loved was Tweethearts. They named their trivia team Tweethearts.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you ahead of this if we had a name if we were to come up with a name for the trivia team, what would our trivia team name be? And I could not come up with anything good that didn't revolve around the tufted titmouse, because it's the only bird that has what feels like a good smut pun in it.
Well, there's the woodcock too.
Oh, the woodcock is a good one.
Yeah.
American woodcock.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I right? Okay, great.
Yeah. It's the
Dude,
American
I
woodcock.
nailed it. I know birds. The
woodcock is also funny because, like,
it's the one that does the dance, right?
It's like,
that's a good meme.
When it's crossing the road.
Good meme.
That's like any bird meme that you see is usually a woodcock crossing a road, and he has like a little like round belly.
Because his whole head is like entirely separate from the movement of his body, and it's just.
It's so.
If you haven't looked up an American woodcock dancing, just do it. It'll make you happy. I promise.
It's either how they mate or just like it's one of their defense mechanisms. I don't know. Birds are weird. I love them so much, but they're very strange. Birds do weird things.
Another scene that was really good was when John checks Chris's phone. Or no, Chris checks John's phone at one point and she had texted him and was like, "Hey, I'm in my bed." And Chris is like, I don't think I was supposed to see this one. And John's like, "What have you done?"
And then he doesn't respond, and Chris is like, "You need to respond to that, like, right now."
Yeah, and then he doesn't respond. Thank God for Chris being there, because John's like, I won't respond.
Home Depot.
I'm in a grocery store, and Chris is like, you can't let her wait. That's worse.
She knows you read it at this point.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. Thank God, because he does. Another great quote. "Oh, sweet boy, you've never sexted, have you?" It's perfect for you. You can take a minute deliberating about what you want to say. John could do that. He was great at deliberating, and he'd try it as soon as he got home. No, John! Please! Oh, God. So bad. And then, of course, he checks his phone again, and it's like 5 text messages from Celeste being like, "Was this okay? If I went too far, you just let me know." And he's just, so then that's a great scene.
And that's just after they become birders with benefits. Yep.
Oh, the name of the book, Birding with Benefits. Yeah, I also, fun title for a book to then also have the whole, that also be the theme.
Oh, 100%. There is another scene that I really love. It's towards the end. It's after their third act breakup, where they separate for a period of time.
Third act breakups.
If you're new to romance novels, or specifically contemporary romance novels, in the end, 99% of the times, at least the ones we read, it has a happy ending. So there's always a third act breakup. And in the third act breakup, her best friend Maria, like, I love her so much.
Maria's storyline is also fantastic throughout this whole book.
Yeah. So she is a best friend. Her best friend just had a baby. Like, she's also married. She has this, like, little identity crisis of, like, if I'm going to sleep with my husband again, like, is it going to be good? I just had a baby and I've finally been cleared. And she has all this, like, anxiety about it. And, like, they're such good friends to each other that, like, Celeste is like, your husband loves you. Like, he is going to love you no matter what. Like, yes, everything has changed a little down there, but, like, it's going to be the same. Like, that is not...
Yep.
Down there is not the reason he sleeps with you. Like, he adores you. And then it comes back and she's like, it was great. This was wonderful. Like, why'd I even worry? So, like, I don't know. It plays on her, like, new mother struggle as well. And, like, her really leaning on Celeste, who has been a mother for a long time. Like, she went through all of this as well. So there is a scene where Maria is, like, pretty much telling her, like, trying to give her advice. And Celeste is pushing back. And then so Maria goes, okay, I need your help with something. And she's like, yeah, anything.
I remember this now.
And she goes, Maria lays down and closed her eyes, smiling into the sunshine. It's actually about another thing. I met this guy that I really like a lot. He's super smart and extremely good in bed. Celeste. Wait, what? Celeste rose on her elbows, but Maria continued serenely at her side. And I had the major hots for him basically right away. But I'm also on this self-proclaimed path to always being alone because I think all relationships are bound to take over my life because my ex-husband turned out to be a little bit of a dickhead. Maria. So I made this perfect plan to just hook up with this guy for a few weeks, friends with benefits style. What are you? But here's the thing. Maria's eyes stayed closed, but her finger pointed in the air. He caught feelings and, God, she was enjoying this too much. And this is really hard for me to admit, but I caught feelings too. When I look at him, my whole body feels like one of those emojis with the big heart eyes. Okay, that's a little much. But I ran scared because it doesn't fit with what I thought I needed, and I'm sure I did the right thing. Maria's eyes opened, dark brown and sparkling, as her mouth turned up into a grin. I'd love your advice on what I should do, Celeste scoffed. Even as Maria's words bounced in her head. You're being an asshole. Me? Maria gasped. I'm just a person in need, and I'm counting on my best friend, the woman who gives the best advice and makes the best plans in the world, the person who pours her heart into me and gives me strength and amazes me every day. I'm asking her because I trust her. And in the end, it like has Celeste like reevaluate the way she was looking at the picture, obviously, because Maria is just laying out her entire like, this is your scenario, now help me fix it.
What should I do?
It's like, oh no,
so
shucks.
Good.
It's just the like banter between the two of them.
Chris
like,
is a little shit and Maria's a little shit.
Yeah,
and they're
so
great.
Good. Yeah.
I
just
love
like that they had those people in there.
It's the way that
lives.
that like you and I are friends with each other too. Where like we also give each other a lot of shit, so it makes me very happy whenever I see characters that are just like they just feel more real than people who are like, oh, I'm gonna support you and help you through this. Which those relationships are also very real, but for me, it feels like someone has written their experiences in a book more than they're trying to write a romance book that like sounds good or is written, you know, in a specific way. The banter, I'm big fans of banter here in general.
Absolutely. I'd say the banter
so
in this book was really good between Chris and John, between Maria and Celeste, between Celeste and her daughter, between like John and Celeste when they get comfortable with each other. There's a little bit of banter that goes on, and it's just like it is filled with love, and you can tell, but it's just like, I don't know. It makes it feel, like you said, real. Like it just feels like a real relationship.
The dialogue feels natural.
Oh yeah.
I do love
it. Doesn't feel like forced dialogue. That was like the second to last scene that I really liked that I highlighted.
What was the other one?
I have to like actively get to it.
Spicy?
A little. It's the start of Spicy, which I think...
highlighted a lot of stuff. I honestly didn't highlight too much of the spice. The spice for me it's very cute, but a lot of what happens in the spice is like, there wasn't anything that was like particularly funny or jokey that like happened in the spice, which isn't to say that the spice is not good. So I
have two quotes from like leading up to the spice that I really enjoyed. There is a point that like Celeste is trying to get is very comfortable and like very outspoken with what she likes and what she doesn't like. He talks about going down on her and like wanting that to be a thing, and she has pretty much said like, I don't finish that way. Like that's not a way that I orgasm at any point. Like I've never done it. And so she pretty much says that, like, he goes, okay, so then what did you and your ex-husband do? And she goes, I would fake it. Like, pretty much she would just fake finishing it so that they can move on to the next thing. Because she was just like, I can't, like, I'm not very in my head. I keep thinking about other things. Like, it just doesn't work for me, which some people it doesn't work for. So he pretty much, like, they go into it and they're going to try it. They're open to it. She's like, I'm open to trying this. And he pretty much, John drew back and looked at her seriously. So no faking, okay? It won't work anyway because I know your sounds. I'll go as long as you want, or I'll stop anytime and get you there another way. Like that in and of itself, I was just like, oh my God. Like that is
He
just
does.
a
He
very
does make a comment.
yeah.
Yeah, he does make a comment at one point too of like along the theme of being a birder and cataloging the sounds of birds and stuff that like he knows what she sounds like, and there are multiple comments in the book where he makes some reference to like logging that in his like mental
Book of
catalog or like
Celeste.
mental. Oh, the Book of Celeste is so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that of what he's like. Nope, I know what you sound like. I'm a birder, man. Okay, I know what sounds are and what sounds aren't, and you're not gonna
They
be able to
also
trick
do
me.
like a. He also is like, how about we come up with like a code for like you don't like this or you do like this, and he's like, if you pull my hair, you like this. If you do something else, like there's another thing. If you do this thing, you don't like this. So like there was a point where she was getting in her head. So she like did whatever it was, and he was like, all right, that's not working anymore. We move on to this thing instead. So it was very like they were very communicative in that manner, which felt very adult. Like I didn't have that relationship in my like first few relationships. Like it was just like we're just gonna do it and hope for the best. Like, and now in like a real relationship where I like live with my partner and I'm with my partner all the time, like you can communicate and like say, hey, that's not working for me, or this is working for me. Like I really like it when you do this, or I don't like this. So it felt very like
just not today.
a mature relationship.
This isn't working for me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. It's again. I just love. It was nice to read a book about adult human beings. And I appreciated too that their third act breakup didn't feel like that also I think felt adult. Because it like part of it's just like trauma from past relationships, and she's just not ready at all. And it was well written. It felt like it wasn't some silly thing, or like nobody like got in a precarious situation that could have been explained with a conversation, and that's what happened. Like it was just she's scared. She's just scared. And I think that to me feels like a lot of the time it feels like a better third act breakup than if we did something like that felt super dramatic, because those are the ones especially where it feels more tense to me, because like I know the ones where it's, you know, you got in a weird position with someone, or someone tried to, you know, make you look bad. That can have a conversation and be talked out. But I think one of the things that was hard and felt a little gut-wrenching about their third act breakup was like, I don't know how she gets over it. Like, that's on her. She has to, you know, work her way through it. There's nothing he could do about it.
And he accepted that. He pretty much said, like,
also was so beautiful.
There isn't anything
like,
I can
do anything.
I can just show her that I can be there and I'm not this other person. But, like, I can't do anything to change how she wants to, like, live her life. If she doesn't see herself being with someone, I can only meet her to a certain point, and she has to meet me the other half of the way.
And it did make me love him even more, because I was like, oh, he doesn't try, and he shouldn't have to. I did appreciate that even after that whole scene, that the way that she writes it is that she has to go and get him back. Yeah. Because it should be, especially after that breakup.
Yeah, he doesn't like come around and be like, have you changed your mind? Did you change your mind? Can you change your mind?
Are you
like,
sure?
I've seen things, like, I've read books that are like that.
Yeah, we've read those.
This was not like that at all. He very much did his thing. Her daughter was like, hey, he's doing this, like, birding event. And she was like, wait, what? He is? I'm so proud of him. Like, and she's like, what am I doing? Yep. Like, why am I doing this? Like, why can't I just be happy and, like, be with a person that cares about me? Like, that's so silly. Yeah.
What did you think about the signs?
I thought it was funny that it was the two guys that saw it first, and they were just reading it off, and like, so at the end there's a scene where she holds up these signs to get his attention across the water from where his birding event is.
Gets him back.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that there are two birders that like attended the event that wanted extra like other tours or whatever to go on like hikes with
They
John.
wanted to get his services.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Get his
so
business off the ground.
she holds up all these signs, and these old guys are reading them out loud to each other. Like, what is she talking about?
What is she
Who
doing?
is this person? I just want a bird with you. Me? She wants a bird with you? And we're like talking to each other, which I thought was hilarious. While John's just like taking it in, and these two guys just on the sidelines are commentating like the signs, which I thought was like the funniest little touch to add to it. Of like, she's doing something in public, which like when you think about it, it's like hilarious in and of itself. And when you do things in public, like other people are seeing it. I feel like there are scenes that are written in other books and movies where like everyone around just doesn't pay attention to what's happening, and not a single person makes a comment about it. And in this scene, they made a comment about it, which I thought was great, because they were just like, huh, who is she talking to you?
Yep.
Like, so funny.
I like that she uses "I'm halfway there too," because when he basically says that like he's falling for her, he basically was like, "I'm halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
I am halfway to being in love with you," and she's like, "I can't." Just is like, "I can't do it. Nope."
Mm-hmm.
Just freaks out and is like, "This isn't what I want." And the sign that she uses, I genuinely just I don't. I'm 50-50 on it. I have Love Actually flashbacks for the signs, and I strongly dislike that scene in that movie. If you're not familiar with it, in Love Actually, one of the characters like goes to this girl who's literally in a relationship with someone else and is like, "Pick me instead," and like has all of these signs, and I'm just like, this is I hate that scene so much. So I just had so many of like, no, not the poster board signs with the black writing, please. I hate this shit. I almost just wish it were just one sign. Just do the one sign. Just say, "I'm halfway
Yeah,
there
I thought
too,"
it was
and
funny
be like,
that
done.
they were like
It's done.
dropping. She had like picking up more signs.
Yep. But I think that it was cute for the comedic effect. I think that it wouldn't have been as funny without the more signs. I also do love that she's far enough away that he has to use his binoculars.
Yeah, I thought that was
see
funny.
her. Like, you know, he's going to be looking at the ground, anywhere around the ground, to find the birds.
Yeah, that was really funny. Just after that is the final scene that like I highlighted something, and I thought it was really funny because he like it brings back to like some of the things that he does like on the sides. And it's just sometimes she would make little comments that I always thought were really funny but like kind of childish, but like in a one-on-one setting that you like goof around about. Like my partner and I will see the like 69 somewhere and go, nice. But like we just say
I literally
it to each
did
other.
that to you today.
Yeah, like
69
we
minutes.
just do like silly things
We're
like
so
that.
mature.
So there's this one scene. It's right after that. So they finally like meet back on the other side of the thing. So they start making out. That's what they do. He smiled against her mouth, then kissed her again, harder this time, pressing his body against hers. "Oh, John," she gasped and laughed into his mouth. "Did you bring some wood from your shop, or are you just happy to see me?" Like that, I giggled out loud. I thought it was so funny. I just think it was funny
she does
that she
one
said
of the
it.
lines at the very, very end of the book is they decide to go birding after she does her love declaration or whatever, and they get back together, and she says, "First to see 5 birds wins. The loser is the first to get naked back at the house."
Yeah.
It's like one of the
So
last
good.
lines in the book, and I'm just like, yep, this is cute. Yep.
Yeah.
It was adorable.
I think so too. I think it was a great book.
I reread some of it to prep for today because I read it about a week before you did. And then we decided, hey, we should make this the first one that we record. I recommend it 100%.
Oh yeah. Highly recommend the book.
We planned our whole introduction. We didn't plan anything for the outro whatsoever. So I don't have anything for this other than just thanks everyone who is listening. And we have Instagram and YouTube and God, what else do we have? With Patreon and
So
I'm sure I'm missing something. And
our
a TikTok.
plan-
And they're all at The
the
Smut
Smut
Peddlers.
Peddlers. Because we are the Smut Peddlers.
On all of the things, because we are the Smut Peddlers.
Yeah. As a little
10 out of
background,
10.
this started from a Discord, one book recommendations channel. And we, our friends and acquaintances, looked at us as the ones who kept peddling smut. And so that is where our name came from. Our goal is to share books with you that we like. The next set of episodes that we're going to do, I have not read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. Rachel has. So a big thing would be me going through Throne of Glass. I have read ACOTAR, all of ACOTAR, and all of Crescent City. When we go through those, there will probably be spoilers from ACOTAR and Crescent City. I will try not to, but there might be, depending on what we discuss. So
don't worry, when we come up against stuff that ends up having anything to do with the other series, then
there will be.
We're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to bring it up.
Yeah. So thanks for hanging out. We are going to be posting everything on YouTube. We're also going to be able to, you'll be able to get your podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple
wherever
Podcasts
are these days.
Yeah. Wherever you can get them, you can get them.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.